One of the most wonderful things about Pasadena, and if you ask anybody, is our community spirit. It's our sense of community and how much we as a city, as a community, as a people, get together all the time for wonderful causes throughout the city. And one of our #1 causes, dear to our hearts, is our Pet Shelter and Adoption Center. Joining me now are Ken and Kathy with the Pasadena Pet Adoption and the Shelter. Now, there's 2 different buildings. Tell me a little bit about the difference between the buildings and what each of them do.
Laura, the building we're in here is our Pet Adoption Center, 5160 Burke. We only do adoptions here. We don't do any intakes. That's for the other building.
When you say intakes, explain to people that may not know what intake means.
When people in the community bring us strays they have found, or our animal control officers who drive the trucks in the streets capture stray animals and bring them here, we call those intakes.
Okay.
So those animals that are intaken are only at the other shelter. We just do adoptions here. We also have a special room in the back here that's for educational purposes. And so we have had previously some children's groups in here, and we have a lady who teaches them about proper animal care and that sort of thing.
What a wonderful opportunity. And I mean, we're very blessed to have not 1 but 2 buildings. So we talked about what goes on here and what goes on over at the shelter. How is that different, Kathy?
I think it's important to note that the shelter continues to serve as the intake shelter, as Ken just stated, but it also serves as an isolation for those animals that may be sick or ill, and then also a quarantine area, whereas any animals that have been involved in bite cases, it's required by law to quarantine those, and then it is also serving as an adoption center as well.
So there's a lot of medical issues that go on and treatment of the pets when they need it and things like that. And that goes on in the shelter building, and the adoption building is for education.
That is right.
And for pets to go home with their forever families.
Correct, but both buildings we do adoptions, so we don't want anybody to lose sight of that.
Oh, well, that's good, because I totally missed that and I'm sitting right here. So thank you for clarifying that. So you can do adoptions at both the buildings.
Correct.
All right, now talking about shelters in our area, there was a shelter on the north side, North Harris County, that got into some hot water recently about some misinformation getting out, some things happening, and they were actually designated in January as a no-kill shelter, but it was come to light that they were euthanizing some animals. What is a no-kill designation? What does that mean?
The technical definition of no-kill shelter is one where no healthy or treatable animal is euthanized, even if the shelter is full. They reserve euthanasia for terminally ill and animals that are considered a public safety hazard.
Okay, now, well, it's just a public safety hazard. What type of animal would that entail?
An animal that has a history of biting, or one that is extremely aggressive toward animals or people. So the general industry standard for no-kill is a 90% live release rate. So they allow 10% for those medically irremediable and aggressive animals to be humanely euthanized in the best interest of the animals and people.
Right, and that's never what a shelter wants to do. They don't want to have to do that.
Never.
But a designation of being a no-kill shelter is very, very hard to earn. I know that we here in Pasadena are working every day towards that. And how difficult is it to earn a no-kill designation for a shelter?
It's very difficult, especially for a municipal shelter like we are. And that's because municipal shelters are tasked with protecting the citizens from the rabies virus. That means that we have to take in every stray animal because we don't know if they've been exposed to that virus, we don't know if they have it, we don't know if they've had any vaccines, because we don't know the ownership or the history. And so we have to take in all of those, and having said that, it becomes very difficult then to manage a population, right, that you can't know, you can't plan for how many are coming in, they just come.
And if I may, in taking in strays, bear in mind that it's only Pasadena strays that our facility is capable of taking in. So if an animal is found, say, in Houston, then whoever found that animal would need to go to the city of Houston's facility to turn that animal in.
So what about surrenders? Are they Pasadena only surrenders here?
Yes. Yes, we're funded by the citizens here, and we are obliged to help them in any way we can.
So that no-kill designation is extremely hard to get.
It is.
Would it be safe to say that we are trying our best?
We work very hard to save every animal we possibly can. It's just a huge effort for us, a city this size. There's some smaller municipal shelters, I'm sure, have a little easier time of it. But it's important to understand, too, there's some private shelters that can turn away certain animals. We can't do that. And so that's our difficult position. But we're willing to shoulder up under the task and move forward as well as we can.
And develop programs to help encourage getting animals into homes, and so that they're not living in the shelter any longer than they have to.
Yeah, and that's the importance of foster help. We can get them out of here, they don't have to stay, and yet they can still be adoptable. So the fosters are so important. Rescues help is so critical to us. So I just keep harping on that, keep mentioning that, because it is just so important.
About how many pets would you say on average we take in?
It's hard to establish an average. I can tell you that in the month of August, our most recent full month where I have statistics, we took in approximately 600 stray dogs and cats.
On top of the ones that were already here.
That's correct.
That's right.
That's correct.
So, I mean, I'm kind of getting a little off topic, but I mean, that's got to make it hard for the animals to have to share their space so much as well. So what could the public do to help you guys, you know, not be overcrowded, or, you know, to deal with things like this? Because, I mean, you don't want to put animals down, and you won't if they're healthy animals. But, of course, you know, a dog or a cat's not going to want to share their space. They're like us.
Well, and let me answer that. Laura, we have so many opportunities for volunteers at our facilities, and as you stated in the introduction, we just have a wonderful community, and our volunteer base is continuing to grow.
In fact, the matter is we've got to rely on them altogether. We have wonderful employees here, but we can always use more help. Volunteers, if you're 16 or older, you can come, well, you can go to Volunteer Pasadena online and fill out an application, and that goes through an approval process, and you can even designate on there that you want to volunteer at the animal shelter, and that all works together that way. The public can make donations, money, newspaper, cardboard. We have an Amazon wish list they can go check and donate to us. They can foster our animals. There's a foster application that they can find online at our shelter page, PasadenaShelter.com. They can work with a breed rescue that works with us. There are a lot of ways that they can help us. Mainly, they can make sure that their animals are well taken care of, properly confined, properly kept on a leash when they're not in their yard or their house. Those are the kinds of things that are incredibly important to help us in this matter.
So even if someone perhaps maybe doesn't have the time to come in here and physically volunteer, there are a lot of things they can do as far as making donations on the Amazon, which I did not know. That's great. You just go to Amazon.com, or?
There's a wish list, and they can select items that we have need of, order a quantity, it's shipped to us, works well. We've received a number of things that way. And by the way, they can also share our adoptable animals on their own social media pages too. That helps.
That's wonderful. And then something else they can do within their own neighborhoods is kind of make sure that their pets are secured, and maybe their neighbors' pets as well, you know, looking out for each other. I mean, because they're fur babies.
Mm-hmm.
Those are people's part of their family as well.
Absolutely.
You know, and as well, we're always looking to our community for ways that we can bring adoption events out to their neighborhoods, and so we encourage them to contact us to let us know how we can assist in that as well.
All right, and so if someone did want you to come out, I know you guys come out on Saturdays a lot, and you go, and it's not just in Pasadena, because I know that our volunteer and our adoption coordinator, they're all over the place, aren't they?
they're willing to go within reason, almost anywhere that we're invited.
That's wonderful. Now, we also have some exciting grants that are coming up, and you guys are applying for certain grants. Can you guys tell us any of that news?
We're very excited about a couple of them, especially if I could share those.
Sure.
So we actually have received a grant from Petco Foundation that is a generous amount of money that they've given to us to promote animal adoptions. In fact, to buy equipment or to promote via social media, any number of ways. That's part of that grant. The other part of that grant is to help us socialize our dogs. So there's an organization called Dogs Playing for Life, and they have come and trained some of our employees, and so we're working that process into our daily regimen, and we hope to make that an even larger program going forward. But that was a wonderful grant from Petco Foundation. Very grateful for it. We have another grant that's going to assist us in rebuilding our public dog parks that were displaced by the building of this edifice here. So they're going to be reinstated behind this building.
Wonderful.
They won't be quite as large, but they're going to be there again, a large dog park and a small dog park, and the public will be invited. We're just in the planning processes, but they're coming.
That's fantastic, and that's in conjunction with our Parks and Recreation Department that we're doing that as well. So there's just a lot of good news on the horizon for the Adoption Center and the pet shelter. Is there any last bit of words of wisdom for the public, or any requests or anything you guys may have that you want folks to know about?
You know, Laura, one thing that I'd like to mention that we really haven't spoken to here is that we would really encourage our residents to spay and neuter their pets. Ken talked of the 600 plus animals that came in during August, and it is imperative that if we as a community are going to reduce overpopulation with our animals, it is necessary that pet owners spay and neuter their pets, and that there are opportunities available for reduced costs to assist in that process. And so we do have available some resources that we can share with them to help facilitate that.
Absolutely.
Great addition.
Thank you so much. And any type of information anybody would need, they just go to petshelter.com.
PasadenaShelter.com.
PasadenaShelter.com. They can also go to our city website. And you guys have a Dynamite Facebook page as well, and you have a Twitter account too, so they can just kind of stay up to date and see what's going on with the social media. Thank you so much for joining us. And
We're excited
Thank
about
you.
the possibilities.
thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks.